Hello, everyone. My name is Eva Flores, and welcome to my disability slides presentation for today. We are going to be going over disability statistics for San Diego Unified, which is the school district in San Diego, California that I student taught in. We are going to be going over demographics and disability statistics for my former student teaching site, Bay Park Elementary. And then we are going to talk about how those statistics relate to class readings for this week for social justice and educational equity. And we are going to talk about how I feel about the statistics that I was able to gather. Without further ado, let's begin with a slide on the population demographics of San Diego Unified. San Diego Unified is a very large school district within the San Diego metropolitan area. These are the population demographics of the school district based on race and general diversity. Unfortunately, I was not able to find or include any demographic on students with disability or IEPs within the school district. This is a slide on the population demographics of my school site, Bay Park Elementary. Bay Park is a pretty popular elementary school in the Mission Bay area of San Diego, California. It has about 540 students and serves kids in kindergarten through, I think it's 5th grade. As you can see here, we have a table that shows how many students are in each grade at Bay Park, how many students of each race go to Bay Park, and how many male and female students go to Bay Park. Unfortunately, I was not able to find any statistic on how many students with IEPs go to Bay Park Elementary or students with disabilities within that school. So to give a better sense of disability demographics within San Diego Unified School District, there are about 15,860 15,086 students with an IEP in the San Diego Unified School District. Many of the students are English language learners. As you can see, I have a graph indicating English language learners within San Diego Unified School District right here. This graph tells me that about 30,000 students within the school district were reclassified from ELL status to proficient in English. Unfortunately, there was no data to be found on the number of students of different races that also have an IEP within San Diego Unified School District. There also was not any data to be found on the number of students that are LGBTQ within San Diego Unified School District that have IEPs. For Bay Park Elementary, about 12.2% of students in the school have an IEP of some sort or a disability. If you look down here, there are currently, in the 2019-20 school year, about 25 students who are actually about 40 students that are English language learners, and about 25-ish of them have been reclassified as proficient in English. Unfortunately, there was no data on LGBTQ students with IEPs at Bay Park Elementary. I would not have expected there to be that data since Bay Park is an elementary school and sexuality is not typically something that is talked about with kids that are as young as the kids at Bay Park are. In terms of the number of students of different races at Bay Park Elementary that also have IEPs, there was no data. What I can say is that in the 4th, 5th grade education specialist room, there were quite a few students of Hispanic background, and there were quite a few, I think, African American students that came to see me because I was the student teacher for the 4th, 5th grade education specialist at that school last semester. In terms of suspension rates, this is, hold on, let me make my slide a little bit smaller there. This is the general suspension data for San Diego Unified School District. If you look, you can see that suspensions have had a drop in the 2019-20 school year, most likely due to the global pandemic. Unfortunately, there was no data to be had on suspension of students with IEPs in San Diego Unified School District. I really did spend hours and hours Googling it, and finally I just had to give up because there was just nothing. For Bay Park Elementary, we know that suspensions have also gone down. You can see this graph of the suspension rate overall here. We also know that Bay Park Elementary does have a thing about suspending students with disabilities, particularly behavioral disabilities. 1% of the students that get suspended are typically developing. About 3% of students that get suspended are atypical or have an IEP. As somebody that worked in the education specialist room at Bay Park, I can say that unfortunately this statistic does not really surprise me, because it did always seem like the kids that came in and out of my sped room were usually being suspended, getting into this trouble, getting into that trouble. What does this data tell me? This data tells me that really people with disabilities just are not well represented in society. There really is not a whole lot of data out there on students with disabilities to be found or that is easily accessible to the public. I also learned that students with disabilities endure way more disciplinary action than typically developing students. Like I said, within the San Diego Unified School District and within Bay Park Elementary, about 1% of students that have disciplinary action taken against them are typically developing, and about 3% are atypically developing students or students with 504 disability, IEP, all that good stuff. How does this relate to the readings from the course for this week? Well, a lot of the data that I saw on students with disabilities brings up issues of equity and disability. Equity brings to mind the Enema reading from this week on critical race theory merging with disability. Enema et al. 2007 states that issues of equity are barriers for students with disabilities and students of color. One other thing I noticed as I looked at the data on students with disabilities for this presentation was that class issues and societal norms appear to be very prevalent in the data. This brings to mind the Kalyanpur 2008 reading from this week, in that a big part of Kalyanpur's argument is that in India, disability is largely an issue of class and what is acceptable in society and who gets what resources in society. How do I feel about this data? Look, I'm just going to come out and say it. I have been a woman in America with a disability for 24 years. This data disappoints me, but none of it really surprises me. The fact that I was not able to find more data on students with disabilities disappointed me, because that data should be way more accessible than it is. It did not surprise me that I did not find more data, because I'm going to be honest and say that's just life for people with disabilities. You know, able-bodied people just tend to take the issue of disability and kind of chuck it to the side. You know, it disappointed me to hear how much students with disabilities were suspended from school. On the other hand, as somebody that grew up going to special education geared schools and who was friends with many, many people with disabilities, it didn't surprise me, because that's just kind of what schools do when they are dealing with behavior that society would deem unacceptable or shameful. All right, well, that is my presentation for today. Here are my references and resources if you would like to learn more. Have a wonderful day, everyone.